So I think we'll start. Well, welcome everybody, and my name is Julie Hutchison, and I'm from Transforming Performance Limited, and I'm a coach and a trainer. And Susan and I, Susan's head of professional development at Icon, and we've been collaborating and we've been cooking up ideas. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to show you a little bit around some ideas that we've had and something that we've created for next year that we're quite excited about. But before I do, I'm going to let Susan talk because she's head of professional development, so she sounds like she should know more than me. So Susan, hello Susan.
Hi, thanks Julie. I'm really pleased for Julie to be doing this webinar today. It's a real good opportunity to introduce the concept of an online leadership training course, and really it stems back from Icon's conference in Birmingham last year when we had a leadership lunchtime session which really indicated an appetite for training in leadership and development, and obviously that's been on my mind. And earlier this year, in fact in June this year, I met Julie at Southwest Federation conference, which was for people who work in the museums sector, and she presented a session there which I thought was really sort of interactive and user-friendly, and a way to engage people and think about yourselves. And so since then we've been working together to develop this course and make it accessible for all, because obviously there are other leadership courses out there, but this one is to address the issues where conservators in most cases can be working as a sole practitioner or in a place where you can't actually spend an awful lot of time going to other courses. You know, sort of taking 2 weeks away from your workplace can be quite a lot, as well as the expense of that. So to actually produce something that is online and accessible and interactive were the sort of the key areas that Julie and I have been working on. And Julie's researched all the other courses that are available to conservators, as well as having the experience of delivering this type of training. And from that, this has been created. So I'm going to hand it back to Julie now, and I hope that you find it an inspiring session and that it reflects your needs as I understand them to be, so that this can be something that can be a great Icon product that's provided by Julie and her team. So over back to you, Julie.
Thank you very much. You've bigged us up now. I don't know what to say. So thank you very much. No, that's brilliant. And like Susan said, this is a sort of a tour around things because this is brand new. It's still some of the detail will be still in development of that, but actually that's great, because if you've got any questions now, it's always a good time to ask them, and then we can always bring something in. So my first question, because as Susan said, one of the things that we really wanted was interactive. So my very first question to everybody, and I'm slightly scared to do this because there's going to be a lot of questions and answers in the thing, but I would like you to tell me, raise your hand, and you can't raise a little hand, so I'm going to ask you to put in the question and answer box. Am I right in thinking that the reason why you guys are here, and there's rather a lot of you on this call, so the reason why you're here is because that you think that it's important to develop yourselves and to grow. Oh wow! Oh goodness, everybody's raising their hand. Thank you very much. Exactly. That's fantastic. I'm going to just shush now because there's even more people raising their hand. I have to wait until you all do. Thank you. And that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And let me ask you this. If you think it's important to develop, is it important that the way in which that you access that is important too, and that it's got to be something that is right for you? Would you agree? That's a bit more raising hands. Yes. Okay. Good. Oh, even more. Oh, wow. Everybody's raising their hands. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, and somebody in the chat. I'm going to struggle with the chat. I apologise now if I've got somebody in the chat. So that's exactly why we wanted to do this, as Susan said, and so maybe what it is that actually we find it really difficult, especially when we're on our own, and especially in industries that are very, very technically led. And what I mean by that is people are very skilled and their focus is on the technical aspects of the role. Because quite often we get we're on our own, we get stuck in our own ways, and we don't get access and the ability to actually go out and to go to places or to interact with other people who want to do the same thing. So maybe that's where you are now, is that actually you want something that you can access. And so what we want to do is we want to make that accessible. And now I'm going to struggle to try and, no, there we go, I've done it, to move it down. What we want to do is we want to do this. We want to give you development and growth so that you can grow as a leader, as somebody of influence in whichever organisation that you're in, whether you're in a big organisation or whether you're in, you're a sole person on your own doing a great job there. What we want to do is to be able to offer development and growth for everybody that's accessible for everybody. And in a way that means that you get the support of not just the trainer and the coach, but also other people. And that's what we really want to do. Would you agree that's a good idea? That's another moment. By the way, don't forget you can't go to sleep on this webinar, unfortunately. Thank you. Oh, lots of people raising their hands. Thank you very much. And that's the idea. And the reason why that's important is because nowadays, money's tight for every business if we're looking at it as a business, because if it's not a business, it's not going to survive. Money's tight for businesses and grants aren't available necessarily, and we don't just get money for nothing. And so what we've got to do is we've got to give value, and the more value we give, then the more able we are to grow what we have a passion in, whether it be being a conservator or whether it be like me being a trainer and a coach. And so it's very important that we can deliver the best value that we can give, and the way we do that is to grow. And so now is the time, because I don't think money's getting any more. I don't think anybody's really just going to let us just float along. And so the more we grow, the more opportunity we will have to be the ones who do survive and the ones who thrive. And you may be thinking, well, why me? Why did Susan want to talk to me? And I know she said, well, I did a presentation at the conference before, and that's fabulous. Thank you very much, by the way, for the feedback. It was a bit crazy. I think I frightened everybody a lot. I don't know, Susan, what you think of that one. So this is me. I'm on the left there, and I just want to tell you who we are really, because it's me and Jan, business partners in Transforming Performance. We use other associates as well who work with us. And me on the left there, I was 16 years as a police officer. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Thank you. I was an inspector in Hertfordshire Police for 16 years. Done a few other things before that. My background was in engineering. And throughout all that time, I loved what I did. But one thing I saw was that the impact of a person in any organisation is so important. How that person shows up in an organisation, what influence they have, and how they can either help or hinder the business, the ability for people to do the things they can do, the ability to grow themselves, is about how they show up as a leader in the business. And I don't mean necessarily a leader of people, but I was, but just how you show up and the impact that you can have in any organisation, and at home as well. This works at home, by the way, guys, which is great. So I loved my job, but I saw some really great leadership and I saw some really awful leadership, and there was a point where I decided that I won't go into my big story why, but I decided that I would never put up with some terrible leadership again. And I learned, well, what is good leadership? What is a good leader? What is a person? How do you show up really well? And it was fascinating to me, and I just developed more and more throughout my time in the police. I did coaching courses, I did more training courses. I've got a degree in manufacturing engineering and management. I've done Chartered Management Institute, loads of different things. But one of the biggest things for me was actually going out and having a go with people and seeing what the response was, and really looking at the reaction of people to how I showed up. So for me, it was really big around experiential, doing something, not just learning something, because it's all very easy to just sit there and learn something, but actually until you do it, then it doesn't really make any difference. And so the second picture is of me out there speaking and doing, and I became a sole trader. In 2013, I left the police and started my own business. And the reason why Jan's on there as well is because the lovely Jan is now my business partner in Transforming Forms Limited. And so we are the terrible duo, and she'll hate me if she's on this call, and I haven't checked. So Jan, sorry about this, but I say good cop, bad cop. She's the one who keeps me on the straight and narrow. And so that's who we are. And what we believe in is that leadership is not just a qualification. Leadership is a product of the behaviours that you display on a daily basis. And so everything we do is all about the action that people take, which is why we don't just do training, why we do coaching and training. And you'll see there that in 2015, seems a long time ago now, that I won the Executive Coach of the Year at the International Coaching Awards with the Coaching Academy, and it was because of the interactive nature of what we do. So we think coaching and training is really, really important together because it gives people the ability to take action and therefore to really, really improve. So that's us. What do people tell us, though? What do people say are the main things that they struggle with? Well, first of all, they say they want to learn the leadership principles. Of course, yes, absolutely. They want to know what they don't know, or what they should be knowing. Would you agree with that one? You can show a little show of hands there. Yeah. Oh, good. And I haven't looked in the questions and answers, and I know there's some more, so I will in a moment. It's hard to do both things. First of all, leadership principles. Absolutely, you need to have some knowledge. Yeah, but as I said, it's not just the knowledge that we find that actually people really need. So let's have a look. The next piece there, self-awareness. What we find is that people don't always know how they show up, and what that means is they don't know why they don't get the results that they sometimes would like. I don't know if anybody here, if you want to put in the Q&A, have you ever had that time where you didn't really get, you knew the answer and you knew what you knew what you wanted to say, but nobody was really listening? Has anybody ever had that? Or is anybody there? Oh, somebody, yes, thank you very much. I was going to say nobody dares put their hand up for that one, but it's interesting because quite often what we find is people who are perhaps more quieter, more conservative in the way they go about things, they wonder why nobody listens. But actually it's not because they don't know anything, it's absolutely the opposite. Actually, it's they probably can't get a word in edgeways, and they need to understand how to adapt to become somebody that somebody listens to, because they've got most of the time got all the answers, and it's probably people like me who are not letting them speak. So self-awareness about why I might be having the impact I'm having and who I am as a person is really important. So the next thing that comes up, if I can make the computer work, there we go, is goals. Quite often what we find is that we float along and we don't necessarily really understand what it is we're trying to achieve and what we really want in life, in work. And so defining our goals means that actually we know where we want to go, we know where we are, or we can understand that with a bit of self-awareness, and then we can define, well, where's the gap? What is it that I need to do? And it's really important, because in reality, once you know the gap, then we can work on it. So we love to help people to do the definition of their goals, because actually it's really, really important, because it's no good just doing a bunch of work if you don't know where you want to go. It's like setting sail to America when you really want to go to France, if that makes sense. Susan, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Good. So the next thing then, what people say is that strategic thinking it can be an issue, especially when you're kind of getting the weeds of what you're doing. It's really, really easy to be in the weeds. I was working with a guy the other day, an operations director, who was really being much more of a just an engineer and getting in and doing all the things. He was upsetting everybody around him, because actually he was supposed to be directing and he was really in the weeds. And his big problem was he wasn't thinking strategically. And as soon as we started to say, well, hang on, let's have a look at what you're not doing here, he understood what he needed to do. He needed to change the level of where he was thinking, and start being more strategic, and then he was able to step back. So what people tell us is that actually that's where they want to do. They want to develop that strategic thinking. And in your business, Susan, you could probably answer this as well, but I would think that that's really important, because it's very easy to get down in the weeds and just to keep moving forward all the time. Would you agree?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. You need to see
Yeah.
the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And Susan, some of these things actually, Susan, we looked at the research from the feedback from the, what was the conference that you actually took all that information?
It was our Icons annual, well, not annual conference, it's Icons conference, and it happens every 3 or 4 years.
Oh, right, okay. So when it was, that was, that was one of the things that came out was, well, how do we pull ourselves up into a more strategic thing? Because the problem is when you stay down in the weeds, nobody really does want to listen to that part, because what they need is the strategy first to then to be able to change. So to be more influential and be more of a leader, you need that strategic thinking. Your mattress hasn't come yet, Susan. You're still there, I see. So that's brilliant.
I'm still here, yeah.
So the next thing, challenge. To have some challenge in what you're doing, but have somebody to challenge you to grow, because I've probably got this on another little tab here, but accountability and challenge and somebody to help you drive yourself forward is really important, because what we find is if you just stay where you are doing what you're doing, you've got it's like being in a vacuum. So when I first started working for myself, I used to have 4,000 people to tell me that I was doing it wrong, probably. But then I had just me, and it was very difficult to really get to grips with, well, what do I want? Where do I want to go? Is it the right way? And I don't know about you, but it's something that if I don't have somebody to challenge me and be accountable for, then that's really hard for me. Would anybody else agree? Just Susan, you as well, but anybody else think that actually it's about, yeah, oh, yeah. Crikey, quite a few people there. Thank you, raising your hand. That's great. If only I could tell. Oh, Eric, you did as well, so that's brilliant. And Jan. Oh, Jan, you're here! Hooray! There you go. That's Jan Sargent. She's on the line as well. See, I told you I have to behave myself now. So challenge is really important. So let's have a look at the next thing. Confidence. This was one of the big things that came up in Susan's feedback report there, that we looked at, was having the confidence to say what you think and what you feel and what's important to you. And that often goes with being really great at what you do, but not necessarily wanting to, blow your own trumpet and to appear like you're shouting from the rooftops. And so finding that balance and finding that confidence to actually say, no, this is what I think, and this is why I think it's important. So giving you confidence is really important for this course and what we want to do. So to develop that. The next thing, communication. I'm just going to take a sip of water again. So communication. If we don't have this, it doesn't matter how good you are at strategic thinking and how much you're challenged and how much you've got goals and how self-aware you are. If you can't communicate, then we're on a bit of a non-starter. And I suppose it goes with confidence quite a lot. But what we find is where we improve people's communication skills, it means that whatever ideas they do have and all the other things they've put together, they can actually get them across and people start to listen. And this also came up in Susan's feedback, this understanding, well, what is the way I need to communicate? What's the best way to communicate with other leaders, with my boss, with anybody who I can influence to change the way things are or to grow the way things are? And so being able to grow the communication skills is something I think is massively important as you grow and want to be a leader in any organisation. Would you agree with that, Susan?
Definitely.
Yeah. I must admit, quite a lot of what we do, and Jan, now this will be interesting if I can get Jan to put in the question and answer box, but would you agree, Jan, that communication, I think it's probably about 60-70% of our work will in some way be around helping people with that confidence and communication of their ideas and of the way they are. Now I'll have to see if she's actually said anything now. Hang on, let's have a look. Not yet. She's probably got to make a cup of tea now. Right, so the next one, though, I've gone down. Hang on. Down on my... There we go. Is this... Oh, Jan raised her hand there. Thank you, Jan. Support. I don't know about you, but I do need challenge and I do need somebody to kick my backside sometimes. but I also need someone to understand where I am and to have people around me that are, I don't know, on the same journey. I think it's hard when you are trying to change and grow, whether it be around your family, or whether it be around people at work. If not everybody else is doing the same thing, sometimes people don't understand what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. And that means that keeping that motivation, that momentum for what you're doing is really, really tricky. I don't know if anybody has any comments or would agree about that. Let's have a look. Susan, you have anything to say? Oh,
Yeah,
Jan said, oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Jan. We've got quite a few raised of hands, yeah. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially when you when you're on your own. The hardest thing is just to keep going and to keep understanding why you're doing it. If you think about the reason why Susan perhaps wanted to look into this in the first place, was because when you just go on a training course, you go for a maybe really intensive period of time, but as soon as you leave that, then you're stuck, because it's just you, and it's just you to decide whether or not you do anything or not. And I find that really, really difficult. I don't know about you. So the reason why we're looking at doing this program, which I'm going to go on to, is because you're going to get support over a period of time. That means that you don't lose the momentum, and you don't just have this one-time bit of information, now I know it, but I don't do anything with it. And I think loads of people have got a drawer in their desk that they've got all the courses they've been on, and when you come home from the course, you open the course and you put everything in. Mine's actually more of a cupboard now, I think, than a drawer, and you put everything in it, and then you shut the drawer, and then I don't think you ever see it again sometimes. Raise your hands if you've ever done that one. Oh, well, everybody is. Yeah, I think we've all done that at some time, and then you feel like it's a real waste of money, and you feel guilty, and you know, it's a funny old thing, really. And courses are great, but you do need that support afterwards. So, because of this, because what you really want to do is take action with what you're learning. You want to try it out. You want to give it a go, and you want to learn from it and say, well, that didn't work, or hey, that did work, or I'll tweak that next time. So what we're looking for now is action from people who want to take action, who want to learn, but also to do. Oh, gone the wrong way again. And with that, accountability as well, because in order to have that support and that challenge is about having accountability from us and from your peers, because whoever's on the course with you is going to you know, be in the same position as you, and is going to want to say, well, you know, how are we all getting on? And that's what's really nice about this kind of approach. So that's the kind of thing that people have told us. So let's have a look at how we put that into the 6 elements that we think are really important. So I'm just going to nip through these, just a little bit of detail about how we would be approaching things. So if we look at the 6 elements of being a leader, first of all, focus and direction. If you haven't got that, as I said to you before, you'll end up in America when you're meant to go to France. No good. So focus and direction is all about getting right the goals of where you're going. Now this is for yourself, but also, I don't know how many of you are actually already maybe leading a team or leading a department or want to, is making it really clear to the people who are around you, what is it we're trying to achieve and where are we going? If we don't do it, we end up floating around without any idea of where we're supposed to be going. The next point is about engagement. Engaging people, whether they be your boss, your staff, your clients, whoever they are. It's about engaging people, having people who want to be around you because you've engaged them at their level. I'm just going to take another sip. Now, I work with a lot of scientists, and Jan actually, I haven't unmuted her so she can't say it, but she works with people who are in IT. We're actually working with some teachers as well at the moment, and I think one of the hardest things is this engagement with other people, and that's where all those communication skills and that self-awareness comes in, and really understanding, you know, who am I in the room with and how do I engage with those people for the best possible outcome. So really, really important. If you haven't got it, it makes everything really, really sticky and slow. Don't know if you've ever been in a role or in an organisation where you thought, oh, I don't really want to be with these people. If you dare raise your hand on that one, then I'll be really proud of you. Oh, Steve, thank you. A few of you. Oh, I see. And then, do you know what? That's one of the massively important things about life in general is if why would you be there if you're not happy? And it makes a big difference for people to do what you want them to do if they're happy. So really, really important. Now, next, the skills of a leader is making sure that you have the right skills, but also that you are able to work with people to enhance their skills rather than necessarily doing everything for them. So if you imagine that you want to grow as a leader and you want people around you doing as good a job as you, and I can imagine it, and some of you are highly skilled and it might be hard to get people to do it the way you want them to do it, but it's about growing your skills to be able to then encourage and coach those people to do what you want them to do. So the skills of a leader are actually on two levels, and we're going to go into that in quite a lot of detail about how you get people to grow with you and for you. But this next piece is, for me, one of the biggest pieces, which is around mindset. And what we find is that until you get the right mindset of a leader, that's when it just doesn't seem to stick. It just doesn't seem to work, because we're always finding that people are this is where the strategic thinking comes in, because they're thinking in a different way. If you don't have this, you end up in the weeds. You stay there, you look at things like they're a problem, and you look at things from that perspective of down in the weeds. And what we will be able to do is to change that mindset of helping you to be able to be more strategic and thinking, well, what does a leader think like? How can I think more like that? But as I keep saying, thinking is not doing. So who is it? One of you will probably be able to tell me. Somebody, said, what is it to do? Oh, I can't even remember the phrase now. Sorry, but to do, thinking it, knowing it, without doing it is not to know. I think that's the phrase. Because if you don't actually do something about it and you don't actually go out there and have an impact, then knowing things doesn't really make any difference. So this fifth piece of the wheel here is about impact and influence. Okay, what do I do with the behaviours that I display every day? So we will be working on you and your behaviours to give you a better impact and influence in your area of work. And finally, the element that gets left off quite often is around systems, because when we look as a leader, what we do is we want to get the focus and direction. We want to get the way we're working right. We engage people. We've got the right mindset. We're doing all the behaviours. But actually, a lot of and I can imagine what you do, is not necessarily very easily repeatable in a way. I don't know, Susan, if you can tell me that, but it is very technical. And very carefully done, I should imagine. And so having systems for people to follow in some way is always very important. And there'll be levels of systems that in some businesses are far greater than in other businesses. And I don't know enough about conservators to know enough about that. But what I would say is that if you want other people to follow in your footsteps in the same way, then it's very important to have some level of systemization of what you do. Do you have a comment about that, Susan? No.
No, I think everybody's will come from that in a different way.
Yeah.
Depends on what they're doing, whether they're running their own business or whether
absolutely.
they're sort of leading a team of people in a public institution.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a whole bunch of you on there with all different roles. So what we do with all of these elements really is we work in these elements to grow all of those 6 areas. And I make it sound simple that there's just 6 areas, but we delve into those and look at, well, what does that mean for each of you? So with that approach, we couple that with the mastermind rather than just training, which means, as I've said, you learn, you grow, and you experience. And you feed it all back in like cogs in a wheel, so it just goes round and round and round. So that's why we want to do the mastermind approach. It's accessible, it embeds over time, as we've said, and it is a long-term development rather than a quick fix, which means that you make changes that you want to make. Change your behaviour means changing your results. And somebody else, who was it who said, somebody will have to tell me, the first sign of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
I can't remember.
I can't remember who it was, probably my mum. No, it wasn't. It was somebody famous.
Good phrase, anyway.
Yeah, it is. Well, and do you know what? How many people keep doing the same thing and you think, stop doing it because you're just going to get the same result. Yeah. So yeah, it's really important. And that's why we think that the mastermind approach will grow you to change those behaviours and give you that peer support. So that's what it is. It's a 12-month program that we're proposing called the Leaders Launchpad, if you haven't guessed already. And so what it does, it gives you that easy online access. So what it will be is, so it's actually 13 months because there's an introduction as well, but I'll just give you that for free. It gives you a series of webinar-based training and coaching in a group environment. So there will be 12 months plus the extra month at the start. It starts in February and there'll be a maximum of 12 people on the group. And what that means is that each month you will either have a training or you will have a coaching session where you will learn something and or you will learn something in terms of like being delivered, but then you will be able to come back and bring back what you've done and ask the questions that you want to, and we can grow together in a peer-led environment. So it's interactive, dare I say, it will be fun. It does mean that you do have to interact because it's not just a training course. If you want just the training course, this probably isn't for you, but we're gentle with you, don't worry. We won't force you to step out of your comfort zone too much, but we do want to grow you and we want to challenge you, but in a supportive way. Okay, so the way that will work is that you will start to develop, you will start to go out there and utilize some of the stuff that we learned throughout those months and then bring that experience back in to get feedback, to find out what works, what doesn't work, and to be able to then work with people. What we're also going to do is we're going to have a Facebook group, which means that you can actually talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be on there too. It means that you can actually comment on people's progress, ask for advice, ask for opinions on things, and discuss amongst yourself as well. So that will be quite useful too. All of the sessions will be recorded as well, which means if you can't actually get to them, then you can watch them later. I would say that the biggest benefit is to watch them live. I don't know, Susan, would you agree that?
Definitely.
The trainings you could probably get away with, but they're all participative, and especially the coaching, you need to be part of that and be willing to be part of it. I think one of my slides later on says that as well. So the price for that, just so that I give you an idea, is £1,997 plus the VAT for the 12-month program, or 13-month program, should I say. And I do understand from Susan that there are potentially some grants that are available. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about that after I've kind of delved in a little bit more?
Oh, no, we can. It's good to sort of highlight the fact. There are some CPD grants available, and if you go onto the ICON website, there is an actual link. If you can't find it, then let me know, and I will send you the link to look at the opportunities of accessing that type of funding if you require it. The Anna Plowden CPD grants, I have actually checked with them and they will definitely support this type of training. So there's the TrueView grants and numerous others, so I don't want to list them, but those two in particular are very relevant to this program.
Well, that's great. I understand that it's not necessary that everybody would necessarily get them, but as part of the application process, we will be asking people why they want to do this program, or what they think, what you think that you'll get from it, and what you can give to it as well. And I think that's going to make the application process for a grant a bit easier, because probably similar questions will be in there anyway.
But I would also encourage you to consider that the value that for this course compared to other courses is very reasonable.
Well, yes, sorry, I should say things like that, actually. I should. If you think about what you're getting here over that 12 month, this is about longer term support. So it's tricky to compare with a normal training course, but think about what is it you want to achieve and whether or not that will get you what you want. And everybody's different, and this is why we've created this, because people have told us that they either can't access or isn't right for them doing it just a training course, and that they need that support and development and challenge to help them to grow. So that's what it's about. So let's move on and have a little, if I can now, to a little bit more about how it's structured specifically. Oh, I forgot to say, what we'll also do is we will be adding in there a complementary behavioural profiling assessment. So we'll either use Talent Dynamics or we use DISC. I'm not sure if anybody's used it. We can probably have a choice of those, I can imagine. But what that will do is it will help us to look at who you are, how you communicate, how you are thinking, and your approach to communication and engagement. And it's a fantastic tool. I use it with all of my clients. I don't think anybody's got away without using it, because what it does is it brings out, remember we talked about self-awareness. Well, it actually means that you start to become aware of how you show up with your communication and all those things, and also how other people show up and why they do things they do. I don't know about you, it's probably another one of those raise your hand moments where have you ever thought to yourself, why is that person being like that? Why are they let's I haven't even finished the question and people are raising their hands. It's quite funny. Brilliant. And you know, because we don't understand why somebody does something, you think, oh, they're just being really awkward, or maybe they're doing it because they don't like me. And often we find that no, this is where this behavioural profiling comes in, because people's behaviours are born out of some really interesting things that they're actually quite easy to notice once you start noticing. So doing your own profiling assessment means you'll get your profile, but it also means that you will understand everybody else's. Even if you haven't seen it, you'll start to pick up on the clues. So there's a first piece that we love to do, which is to get people to look at, who am I as a person? So brilliant start to it, and really good fun, in my opinion. So session one, as I said, this is the bonus session, would be the introduction to the leadership program, to leadership and the program. So we will be going in detail over the 6 elements, and we'll be looking at what that means in top level. And then we'll also talk about the program, what that expects of people, what we expect of people, and give people an opportunity to actually have a conversation online with each other, with me, and or one of the other trainers, who to sort of get everybody set up, get everybody understanding the way in which we're going to work. I did notice on the question and answers, because this is a bit relevant here. Let me just have a look. Was it in the chat? Somebody was asking about technology. If anybody isn't sure of the technology that we're using or how that would work, then we will be very happy to work that through with you. Is it Linda? Way in which to access, as in user technology? Yeah, we will be using technology to do this. The nice thing about doing it this way means that you're sitting in either your office or at home in accessing it. You don't have to travel, you don't have to spend the money on travel, and you can access it live, but you can also have another look later on, and or if you didn't get to have a look first of all, but you can go back to it. So we will be recording all of the sessions, and they will be available to you as part of an online training platform. So we will do session 1, introduction, and there we go. Session 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 will be the training elements. So you get 6 training elements, and they'll be monthly, so there'll be 1 a month. And then 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 will be the coaching elements. So what that means is you'll have some training, then you can go away and start implementing, start looking at that, you know, peruse it, spend some time understanding it, spend some time having a go, testing it out, and then come back into the coaching session where you can ask me or one of the other coaches and the people within that session, all those other 11 people, what they think, and bring those experiences to the table, so to speak. And that's, you know, very different from a training environment, because it means you can say that, oh, I don't understand, or how does this work, or I tried this and it went completely wrong, what do I do? And that's something that we find when we're working with people, whether they be one-to-one or in a group, they find really useful, because you don't get the opportunity normally to try it out and then come back and say, hey, hold on a second, how does that work again? So we find that brilliant. There's a session 14 as well, which is a where are you now? So what do I do for me individually? What's going to happen? And as I said, the Facebook group for ongoing support. So that's how it's going to look. These are the 6 elements. The 6 elements, the names, just for completeness, I suppose. So around here are the 6 elements, the black areas. We're going to do the trip sat-nav, because you're going on a trip and you're taking a direction. We're going to be doing the team accelerator process. We're going to be looking at the development dynamo, the catalytic converter, the mission ignition, and the cruise control, so that we can all go on holiday and let everybody else do the work, I think. That was a joke. That's my ambition, I think, Jan, if you're still listening, that's my ambition.
So
yeah, exactly, but you can't delegate until you've got a system, so you need it there. That's how it kind of sits. That's the sort of top level. Now this is the big thing. Oh, hold on. Oh, it's not for ostriches. That may sound really crazy, but what I mean by that is it's not for somebody who, don't buy this course, don't do this if you're just going to stick your head in the sand and tell me that you're wonderful to start with, because we don't really need that. Nobody's wonderful to start with anyway, and we all need to develop whatever level we start at. We're all on a journey, some are further on than others and all that, but actually what we need people is to take their head out the sand and start looking at themselves and saying, right, what do I want? How am I going to get there? And yes, there's going to be some things I need to change. But any ostriches and people who kind of put up barriers to learning or growing or changing or trying something, it really will hold you back. So please don't be an ostrich. Then it's not for you. Now, I spent ages trying to do these. So those people who are not willing to change and grow, don't do this one, because, just go on a training course and just listen to somebody and then come home and put it in your drawer is probably the easiest thing for you. So not willing to change and grow, don't come. Not for people who want a quick fix without any effort, because we want you to do stuff. Yeah. Now it's very achievable because it's once a month, and in between you can choose how much and how fast you do things and how far you go and how far you grow. But there will be an element of doing something. So attending, yes. So there are, what did we say, 14 sessions to attend over the course of 13 months. There are things to go away and do, which will set you to do. If you choose not to do them, well, fine, but please realize that you'll get more out of it if you do what we suggest. But it is a coaching based program. It's not for you if you just want to sit back and be told, as I said, training course. And it's not for those people who are already perfect, because they should be delivering the course, let's say that. So that's not for you, but it is for you if you want to learn through experience and you want to grow. It is for you if you want to be part of a group who are growing just like you and have access to those people and support from those people. It is for you if you want to grow at your pace with support and challenge. And it is for you if you want to learn from others, to develop your ideas and share and grow and give back what you have to give. So there you go. That sort of help. Does that help you make a decision, anybody? Or at least show an interest? Oh, good. At least one person's, Karina, thank you. No, a few people have raised their hands. You can see I've got a silly sense of humour, so there we go. Sorry about that. So let's have a look at what our clients say. Well, this is Abigail from Twist who says this. She says, currently coaching a team of future potential leaders over the course of several months through the Team Performance Engine, and the Team Performance Engine is what we call the 6 elements. I would recommend her to any organisation due to her in-depth knowledge of her field, her energy and her ability to engage with all who meet her. It makes me sound like really cool, but I'm just normal, really. I think she's just bigging me up. But hey, no, she's a lovely lady, and we've had great fun with 2 cohorts of delegates who are scientists, chemists, scientists, who are growing as leaders. So very technical experts. As I said before, Executive Coach of the Year. I'm hoping on Saturday I might win again, but you never know. I'm shortlisted again for this one, so we're going on Saturday evening.
Good luck.
I'll tell you next week with somebody else. No, but it's nice to be shortlisted. Thank you, Anna. It's nice to be shortlisted.
Definitely.
Actually, I've been shortlisted for 2 awards this year, so I should have put the other one up yet, but hey. So question for you now, it's your turn, everybody. You don't have to pick a leader, it's just a bit tongue-in-cheek really, but my question is to ask yourself, how do you show up as a leader at the moment? Where do you think you are at the moment? And I put all these little pictures on here because it just goes to show that everybody's different and everybody does show up in a different way, and we don't want clones, but what we want is self-aware people who do the best to make the best impact, and know how to make the best impact. I think, you know, it's a choice. You need to know, and then you need to do. So once you know how, you have a choice, either to do or not do. And some people on here don't do, or do something opposite, I think. Would you agree, Susan? I don't know. I like the lady at the bottom. We can do it.
Do too.
That's a bit of me there, I think. But what we don't want is, see the one with the paper bag on their head. You know, I think it's you know, a lot of people suffer from this sort of, they've got these sheets of paper there, all their massively wonderful ideas, and they never get out and they never get said, and they sit in a meeting and they never say anything, and you think, oh, you know, let's get you confident, let's get you out there and feeling like you've, you know, got the opportunity to say what you want to say and get all of that stuff out. And so that's what I really want. That's how I see it. Not that I expect you all walking around with paper bags on your head, but, you know, just saying that you all need to understand which one of these do you think you are, or which one of, you know, where do you think you are, and what is it that you need to develop, because everybody will be different. Some of you will say, well, I need confidence. Some of you will say, well, I need something else. And that's where this comes into play. This is the dashboard that we will be asking you to have a look at when you join the course. It's based on those 6 elements, and it gives you like a spider diagram to start with, where you think you are. So this person here, as you can see, looks really great in the development dynamo side. The skills side is okay in the team accelerator, but I think needs a little bit of work over here and down here in their mindset, if that makes sense. So it gives us a good visual of where people are. So we'll also be doing a bit of an assessment on where you think you are to start with, so that we can measure at the end where you think you've got to. So, you know, creating the gap and then filling the gap, so to speak. Okay, so anybody would like to comment? Not everybody will, I'm sure, but let's have a think. Does anybody want to comment on where they think the biggest thing that they need to work on? Is anybody going to say? Does it? Charles, thank you. Yes, Charles, the answer to your question, does it help with dealing with difficult managers? Absolutely. One of the things about dealing with difficult managers is understanding where they're coming from and looking at the difference from where you're coming, what perspective you come from, and adapting your style and your impact so that they do start listening to you. So absolutely will help you deal with difficult managers. Oh, Einstein, thank you, Jan. See, I knew Jan Sargent would know that Einstein said whatever it was I said earlier on. Lucy, thank you, cruise control. Bridget, mindset. Eric, mindset. Lucy, persuading teams to use the systems. Indeed. Yes. I know that feeling, Lucy, and it's tricky because quite often when we're technical experts, it's all in our head. So getting it out of people's heads is probably one of the hardest things, and getting them all to agree to a certain way of doing it. Yannick, focus. Anna, help me to get the confidence in putting forward the things I actually know. Totally, and I get where you're coming from. Serpa, the mission ignition, and Charles, impact. So I've been told by a senior manager. Well, good for you, Charles. Well, at least you've listened to what somebody else has said. No, I think that that's brilliant, because everybody's got a different area, and there'll be more than one area you work on. Oh, thank you, Jan. She says doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And so all of you will be able to help each other, because imagine you've got the systems thing really off pat and somebody else says, I have no idea, I'm really struggling with this. Having that peer support, whether it be in the coaching sessions or in the Facebook group, then actually it's going to really help you, because it won't just be me, it'll be other people who say, well, actually I can give you some help on that one, because you're in similar industries. Yeah. So and more coming through. So thank you for that. Let's just get off of there. So what you are going to do is you're going to, first of all, assess where you are and then work on those areas. Hold on. So in summary, as I said to you before, it's 1997 plus the VAT. If you want to go for the grant, then Susan's going to help you to go to the right link for that one. It gives you 1 year support, including, I did say the 13, but they're actually 14 because you've got the one at the end, which is where are you going now. So 90-minute sessions and the Facebook group, the managed Facebook group in there. You get to know yourself, you get to grow yourself, you get to grow your opportunities, and you grow conservation, sustainable business model as well, because the more people that are leaders out there and have this great impact, the more then you get what you want. You get funding. You can influence grants, funding, all sorts of things, and people just to invest, from all over the place, because the impact you have. So it's good all round. So how can you apply? Well, if you want to have an application form, then what that means is if you can speak to us about what you think you can give, what you want to get, and how you will be able to be part of this group. And you type application or apply, either of those, into the, I've put the chat box, but if you could put it into the Q&A box, that would be easier for me. Then I will send you an application form and we'll give you a link to our calendar so that you can have a conversation with myself or another one of the team, and then we can go through that form. And it's not a commitment to buying. It is about us understanding whether you're the right person and whether you understanding,
Hi.
whether we're the understanding. Susan, yes, hello. You all right?
Hi. You disappeared for about 2 seconds.
Did I?
I don't know if anybody else had the same problem. Yes.
Oh, did we go off for a moment? Where did I disappear from? Or is this the chat? Hang on a second.
After you said about type of application form in the chat box.
Okay, nobody will apply because I just went offline. Okay, hang on a second. I'm just checking what other people said. All confidence in there. Loads of people have put in the chat box about confidence. So let's go back in. How do you apply? Type apply or application in the either the chat box or the Q&A box, the question box if possible, and I will send you an application form. Can you hear that, Susan?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And the application form it's not a commitment to purchasing. What it is an opportunity for you to think through what you want out of this, what you can give to the rest of the people in the group, and what you want to get from the rest of the people in the group, and how you think this is going to be the right thing for you. And the reason we do that is because, as I said before, this is about really understanding, having it's the right thing for you. And if you're the person who wants to support, you want to be part of something, then great. But I like to just make sure that it's right for you. So we will have a conversation, because I will send you a link to get an appointment with us for 20 minutes just to have a conversation and talk through what you've written on that form. So that's what that's for. And then once we've had that conversation, if you want to go ahead, then you are very welcome to apply. And the grant Susan will help you with. Then, oh, there you go. You'll book a call with us, and I should have gone through these, shouldn't I? We'll decide together that you're a fit and we're a fit for you, and you get selected, you sign up with a little smiley face, and the first cohort would start in February. If we get more than 12, then we will do another one. It may, we may start just a little bit later. Let's have a look. But there are a maximum of 12 spaces. And what I would say, we've got quite a few people already saying in the chat box that they would like an application form, so that's great. There are a maximum of 12 spaces. It will be definitely around, if you're a fit, but if you've stayed on to the end, you probably are. And we look forward to having a conversation with you, really. And now it's 3 minutes left. Susan, do you want to say anything else?
Well, no, thank you for providing such a clear view of what your course will provide. What I did have was to give an indication of how long those sessions would take. Sort of, have you
each individual session,
the length of the sessions?
Yeah, there'll be roughly 90 minutes. I did put that somewhere. I probably just whizzed through that quite quickly. Yeah, they're normally about 90 minutes each session. I'm fairly flexible in terms of how long they are, but that's the sort of time that you'll get. It depends how many questions we get and if we're looking for feedback and things like that.
Sorry, I missed your reply because I think my internet connection disappeared again.
Oh, sorry. Well, maybe mine. It seems to be a bit wobbly. So yeah, all the sessions will be around 90 minutes.
Okay.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Obviously, there won't be necessarily, if we're in the middle of a big conversation and it's like something really needs to be said, then we won't stop dead on at 90 minutes. But they'll be in the region of 90 minutes. And the reason why we do that is because if you're training, then that's really the most you're gonna be able to sit for. And also, lifestyle-wise, people don't actually really have the attention span for any longer than that, so I think that's a good time. However, remember, we will have the Facebook group, and we will have the ability to send over an email if you want some feedback or something like that, so you have access to us throughout that as well. Bridget, she says, I'm just looking on the questions now, thank you, Bridget, 90-minute sessions, and at what time of day, working hours or outside of working hours? Now that's, I'll ask for some feedback actually, because we are flexible. We can do some in working time, or we can do evening time. Can I get in the chat box rather than in the question and answers, can I get your opinion, actually, people? When would you like them? Let's see. What's some chat? Because I find that it totally depends on the type of audience that I have. Now, I don't know you that well. I've only known you for 60 minutes, and I would have thought that it could well be an evening, but I'm fairly flexible, and I think we would go on the majority, really. Susan, do you have any preference?
I think during the day would be better, because I think your minds will be fresher if you look to the evening. You could use the evenings for your FaceTime chats and your interaction in between those, but I think to have your 90-minute sessions during the day will give you that sort of,
okay, most people are coming up with daytime. A couple of evenings. Hold on, I'm just checking the other part. Flexible. One of the things I would say is, look, we don't start till February, and what that means is that we're going to plan the dates. So you will be given the dates, well in advance. In fact, we'll give probably all the dates up front. And what that means is that generally you should be able to be fairly flexible around them. Remember, if you don't have the ability to participate live, then you will be able to look at the trainings and go back on them as well, as many times and whenever you want to. So I wouldn't worry too much, because you should be able to fit most of them in if I give them to you far enough in advance, I would say. But it looks like most people are coming back with daytime. So, I mean, we've had this at 12 o'clock till 1. Is that a good time for people? Is that something that's quite useful there? I think that probably is. Just in the middle of the day to keep you... Thank you for Heather raising her hand. A few people have raised their hand there. So what I think, Yannick, thank you. What I think is that we'll when we have the conversations with people, I'll probably make a note of what the feedback is as we go through the application, and we'll see what we get. But most of the time, I think it's coming up now. It's coming up more or less daytime. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'm just going to look in the Q&A, see if there's anything else. Sarah Chang, yes, you can have an application. Thank you. Everybody's sorry if I don't mention you all. I apologise now because there's about 60 questions I haven't looked at, or 60 answers. Let's have a look. Steve, I think, thank you for your thing there about being abroad a lot. Hold on, let's see if there's any more. Let's have a look. We've got Corinna, yes, got your message. Sadie, Cordelia, Bridget, Anna, Yannick, hopefully I've pronounced that right. Heather, Lucy, Emma, Eric, Sarah, Bridget, I think I already said, Christopher, Emma, Anna, one in the morning, Serpa, thank you. So all those people, thank you. I will send you an application form. Jan, you've got to go, that's no problem. And let's have a look. I read the time.
I think the question about is there an assessment is quite an interesting.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Where's that one? Is there an assessment?
From Sadie.
Sadie, there's not a pass or fail assessment. My answer to that will be that as we go through the course, there will be an engagement. I wouldn't like to say assessment, that's not the right word, but we'll always be looking at how well engaged you are and how you're doing. And for us, it's about conversation of how you're engaging. Are you understanding the material? Are you doing something? If we think you're not doing anything, for example, you don't attend the coaching sessions, but you attend the training sessions and you don't say anything, and you don't assist others, you don't participate, then we might ask you the question, are you okay? And is there anything else we can do? Because at the end of the day, what this is about is you looking at your goals, you choosing where you want to go, and us helping you to take you there. So the assessment might be, well, does it Sadie? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
The assessment is going to be for your self-assessment of, am I doing what I need to be doing to take me where I said I wanted to go? It's much more of a responsibility to take yourself where you want to go with our help. Does that make sense? And Sadie, I don't know if you're going to be able to put your hand up or anything like that. So a few people raise their hands at that one. So and this is where the difference between a training course and then an assessment, let's say, and this kind of program is that this is an ongoing, it's going to take 12 months plus a 2 either side of you going where you want to go. And imagine, now I'm not sure I can draw a line on here, but imagine you've got a line from A to B and you want to go in a straight line, but you're not going to go in a straight line because there'll be life and there'll be things and it'll happen. So you'll go a bit off track once in a while. It's our job to help you stay on track with the line that you set yourself. So the reason why it's great to have these monthly sessions is because we will bring you back into line. We will ask you how you're doing. We will check what you need and we will give you that support. But it will mean that you have to take responsibility for moving along that line in some way, if that makes sense. But we'd be delighted to have a conversation about that. There's on the chat room, there's a Cordelia, Megan, Charles, few other people in there. Hold on, Gloria. If employers are not on board, evening is good, right? Okay, yeah. Gloria, you said about if your employers are not on board, evening is the only option. Let's get your employers on board, I think, is what we need to do, because you'll be developing and they'll be benefiting. Any other questions I've missed out, Susan? I'm not sure if you've...
No, I think that's
okay.
Sort of seems to be it.
Okay. Is there anything anybody else? Raise your hand if you have a question. Nobody's raised their hand. You want to go back now and have a cup of tea or something? Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, and Susan, unless there's any last thing you want to say.
No, thank you ever so much.
You're very welcome. That's our telephone number. That's my mobile number. And if you can also send an email to info. That's where you'll be sending the application form to info@transformingperformance.co.uk. But it will be on the application form. Don't worry. For everybody that's written in there, I will go through and have a look, and I'll write down, and I will send those out to you this afternoon. And thank you very much for listening. And hopefully we'll see some of you in February. It looks like there might be quite a few people there, so I'm not sure if we might have to do 2 groups, but we'll see. And oh, Anna, did you raise your hand because you have a question? If you write it in the chat, if you have a question, Anna, just write it in the chat box and I'll have a very quick look. Hold on a second. Was that Hannah raising hands? No.
New message.
I can't see. No, I don't think it is. Well, see you in February. Oh, Anna, bless you so much. You're keen. That's good. Well, I'll get your application out, and then you can. Then we'll have a conversation. That's lovely, Anna. I look forward to it. I look forward to meeting all of you in February. I think if there wasn't like 40-something people, I think so. I will speak to you soon. But thank you very much, and have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, Julie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.